is that he outmanned Conor in the last 2 rounds, out-experienced him.
I was proud of him. Very, very close fight. Very, very close fight. Not going to go on about the decision. It could have gone either way. Chris done better in the later rounds, which I was very impressed with.
Nigel Benn didn't rush to defend his son or offer up excuses in the wake of Conor Benn's defeat. Instead, he delivered a quiet but powerful truth. Chris Eubank Jr.'s dominance, especially in the championship rounds, was undeniable. There were no protests, no fiery rants, just a father accepting the harsh reality that his son wasn't good enough on the night. When even your own blood refuses to sugarcoat the performance,
you know, I don't think Conor performed to his best of his ability. Was winging a lot of the shots and not knocking me son.
It speaks volumes. Nigel Benn didn't attempt to shield Conor. Instead, he acknowledged the flaws outright. He criticized Conor's wild, reckless swings, calling them aimless and ineffective. Under pressure, there was no polish, no structure, just chaos. Meanwhile, Eubank stood tall, calm, and collected. He picked apart Conor's game with surgical precision, exposing every weakness. Nigel made it clear, this wasn't just a loss, it was a lesson in levels.
But I felt like the last 2 rounds was what really probably won it for Chris, is that he outmanned Conor in the last 2 rounds, out-experienced him.
Tony Sims echoed this brutally honest sentiment. He didn't sugarcoat the defeat, branding Conor Benn's performance a complete disgrace. Sims emphasized that when it mattered most, in the final 2 rounds, Conor disappeared while Eubank thrived. Those closing rounds weren't close, they were clinical. Sims credited Eubank's veteran poise, strength, and fight IQ, highlighting how he dominated every exchange down the stretch. In contrast, Conor lacked composure and a clear game plan.
I don't know if it was so much Conor surprised me how well he boxed because of the way Chris Eubank must have been feeling, because he was, you know, he looked terrible on the scales, absolutely terrible.
Crumbling when the spotlight was brightest. Billy Nelson offered his own scathing perspective, flipping the narrative on both fighters. While he admitted that Conor Benn exceeded his expectations in certain moments, he didn't hold back in criticizing Eubank Jr.'s physical condition on the scales, calling it a visual disaster. Eubank looked completely drained before the fight, yet Conor still couldn't take advantage. For Nelson, that was the most damning part of the performance. If Conor couldn't finish a visibly depleted Eubank, it raises the question, does he even belong at this level? Duke McKenzie had no doubt.
So Conor Benn was never going to beat him. The fight wasn't close for me. I made Eubank win by at least 3 rounds, maybe 4. And, you know, they're not crying about it, neither of them, mind you, because, you know, I think Eubank was on 10 million guaranteed, Conor Benn's on 7 million guaranteed. That's ridiculous money, and I'm not going to say it was a ridiculous fight. It wasn't a ridiculous fight. It was an entertaining fight.
In his view, Eubank was always going to win. He scored the fight clearly in Eubank's favor, by at least 3 or 4 rounds. While both fighters walked away with massive paydays, $10 million for Eubank and $7 million for Benn, McKenzie emphasized that this wasn't just about the money. Eubank's performance was a clear statement of dominance. He didn't just win, he outclassed and exposed Conor. Ben Whittaker added a final note of praise, not for the loser, but for the sheer heart and determination displayed in the ring. He called it a legendary contest, but made no mistake. It was Eubank.
That's what you call a classic. I think the right man won, but it was a great fight from both parts. Many had a draw, but that was a unanimous opinion. Yeah, I think the right man won. But it was a great fight. Both had great heart, and it was the fans loved it.
Who cemented his legacy, while Benn was left to face some painful truths. Ben Whittaker didn't hold back when reflecting on the unforgettable clash between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, calling it nothing short of an instant classic. For Whittaker, there was no controversy. Despite the outcry from fans in the arena and online who were calling for a draw, He stood firm in his belief that the right man had his hand raised at the final bell. According to him, the unanimous decision in favor of Eubank Jr. was not only fair, it was absolutely deserved. Eubank, in his eyes, showed just enough control.
See what a great match that would be. They have a similar physicality, and it was just so exciting to see two guys. And as for Conor Benn, he had to give away 18 pounds maybe. He never took a step backwards, and almost 70,000 fans, British fans, are still the best, no doubt about it. Great night of boxing.
Skill and precision to separate himself in a closely contested battle. However, for Whittaker, the real story wasn't just about who won or lost. It was about the immense heart, grit, and sheer determination both fighters displayed in the ring. He emphasized that this wasn't just another bout, it was a war. Both Eubank and Benn left everything inside those ropes, turning the fight into a true showcase of what makes boxing such an electrifying and emotionally charged sport. The atmosphere inside the packed arena was electric, and the action inside the ring matched that energy with blow-for-blow intensity. Legendary announcer Michael Buffer was equally blown away by what he witnessed. He called the Eubank versus Benn fight one of the most thrilling matchups in recent memory. What stood out most to him?
Over the moon, absolutely over the moon. To see Chris get his hand raised, and it's been a difficult camp, it's been a difficult time. I think everyone's seen the pictures, everyone's seen the stories, everyone's seen what he's had to go through. Fair play to Conor Benn because he was phenomenal as well tonight.
Him was how the fighters' contrasting physical attributes created such dynamic, edge-of-your-seat action. Yet what impressed him above all else was Conor Benn's relentless, fearless approach. Despite stepping into the ring nearly 18 pounds lighter, Benn fought like a man possessed. He didn't retreat or hesitate. He charged forward, determined to make his mark. Buffer also took a moment to shower praise on the British boxing fans, calling them the best in the world. With nearly 70,000 fans packed into the arena, the atmosphere was nothing short of unforgettable. The passion, the drama, the raw emotion on display. Buffer summed it up perfectly. This fight was a classic. It's the kind of night that reminds the world why boxing remains.
A really good fight. I think it was a lot closer than what it was. Commend Conor Benn immensely because he put on an amazing performance. Remember, he's a welterweight. Never really boxed at world-class level at 160 or around that. Chris has more experience on the world scene than Conor has, but Conor did himself proud. I think the right man won.
Remains one of the most beloved sports on the planet. Ben Shalom, promoter of Chris Eubank Jr., was filled with pride after witnessing his fighter rise to the occasion. Shalom acknowledged the turbulent road to fight night, injuries, disruptions in camp, and personal challenges, but was quick to commend Eubank for overcoming it all. He stepped into the ring focused, prepared, and determined, and he delivered under the pressure. Yet Shalom also didn't hesitate to give credit where it was due. He praised Conor Benn's heart, determination, and refusal to quit. Benn pushed Eubank to his limits, displaying remarkable grit and tenacity. Both fighters, Shalom noted, elevated themselves in the eyes of fans by delivering a bout for the ages. His sentiments echoed those of Eddie Hearn, who also labeled the contest one of the most intense and thrilling in recent British boxing.
I think Conor wants it next. Eddie was talking about maybe going down in weight. And I think that if they want to get it on, they do it again, in 6 months' time, and we will come back here.
Boxing history. Johnny Nelson, meanwhile, offered a more nuanced and brutally honest assessment of the fight. While the official scorecard suggested a clear win for Eubank, Nelson believed the contest was far closer than the numbers reflected. He applauded Conor Benn's courage for stepping up to the 160-pound weight class, a division outside his natural comfort zone. Benn's resilience, his willingness to face adversity, and his ability to remain competitive all earned Nelson's respect. Still, Nelson was quick to point out that Eubank's world-class experience was ultimately the deciding factor. It was his superior conditioning, boxing IQ, and composure under pressure that gave him the edge when it mattered most. While Benn showed flashes of brilliance, it was Eubank who weathered the storm and executed a more complete performance. Adam Smith summed up the narrative looking ahead. This rivalry is far from over. In his view, the Eubank Benn saga is only getting started, and a monumental rematch is inevitable. Smith was full of praise for Eubank's comeback, noting his elite-level resilience and ability to rise to the occasion despite overwhelming obstacles. On the other side, Benn remains hungry, determined to prove that the loss was just a momentary setback and not a reflection of his true potential. According to Smith, this rematch will be one for the ages, a defining moment in British boxing. Both men have unfinished business. In 6 months, the world could witness the next chapter in what is already one of the most gripping rivalries in the sport. Don't forget to like the video, drop your predictions in the comments, and subscribe for more coverage on this epic rivalry.